Welcome in, everybody, to Fantasy Pros. This is Draft Court. It is me, Joey P, Joe Pisapia, otherwise known as Judge Joey. With me today, my patty cakes, Pat Fitzmaurice, and hyped up on more energy drinks than any human being should be, Derek Brown, D-Bro, the king of bros. We are here to debate one final time because this wig is really itchy. And I refuse to do this after Labor Day. It's really uncomfortable. It's starting to get weird on the sides here. My curls are not where they were. But this is what happens, isn't it, D-Bro? You know, you start out in preseason football and you get to the end of August. The next thing you know, your curls are all undone, and it's the last day of draft court.
I'm glad you threw it to me because I was going to say I didn't want to interrupt you, but I did want to petition the court. Can we make the Judge Joey wig happen the entirety of the NFL season just because I want to see you in pain?
Motion denied. Next, Pat Fitzmaurice, empty nester now as well. Pat, so what's it like? No kids in the house? I mean, you're just kind of running around doing whatever you want. You could scream and shout. I mean, this must be like a whole new freedom for you today.
Pretty much. The dog gets a lot more of attention. The dishwasher doesn't run nearly as much. It's only been a couple of days, so just getting used to all the delights of a kid-free household. But Joe, we can't have you wearing the wig after this. You can't wear white after Labor Day. We know that.
That's more to the point. Pat Fitzmaurice always on the spot here. So I'm happy everyone's joining us here. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel for Fantasy Draft Court and all the amazing content we do here on Fantasy Pros. We're trying to get to 300,000 subscribers this year, and we can do it with your help. And of course, it's almost the end of August, as I tease, which means we are at the end of the giveaway season for the A.J. Brown autographed helmet. That's right. So if you want to win the Salute to Service A.J. Brown autographed helmet, go Birds, from, of course, pristineauction.com. How do you win? Subscribe to the channel. Drop your comments below on this or any video, and make sure you like this video, and that's how you are entered to win. Again, it's free, and don't forget to ring the bell till it goes ding, so you not only never miss a piece of content on the channel, but you also will have the opportunity to be notified that you're the winner of this amazing helmet from pristineauction.com. AJ Brown is a good one. I like this one. I can't wait to see what the September giveaways are for the helmets, as I'm itching already, and I'm itching right now, not just in this wig, to get to some of the names here, because we've got a lot of backfields in motion. We got a lot of cuts happening. Tommy DeVito's unemployed. All the Italians in my area in New Jersey are rallying around trying to get him a job at the local pizza place. We'll see what we could do here. But let's begin draft court with a quick riser. That's right. We've had some changes to the Commanders' backfield recently, and that means there's a young man named Jacory Croskey-Merritt who is possibly meriting, see what I did there? Little play on words. Some attention in fantasy circles. He's being overdrafted, I think, a little bit lately, but of course, the boys have a difference of opinion, so we're going to get to those. Fitzy has him as RB37. D-Bro, a bit more aggressive. He's got him at RB28. So we're going to talk about him because Brian Robinson Jr., he is no more. He is gone. Well, he still exists, but he's existing in San Francisco. Austin Eckler's still there. Rodriguez still there. So it feels like a backfield committee here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let Derek Brown go ahead on the assault here and attack and tell me why RB28 and the aggression of Jacory Croskey-Merritt is warranted this last week of draft season.
Well, I would like to first start this off with it. I don't feel like this is aggressive, maybe aggressive enough compared to what we're going to see in draft rooms right now. And it's season to bill out there, people. And with Brian Robinson Jr., we've been ranking him for the entirety of the offseason as a mid-range RB3. So I think the record, or the ranking of Bill, is perfectly appropriate, Joey, especially considering with the upside here. I know Austin Eckler is still going to be there. And Chris Rodriguez, look, I've been touting Chris Rodriguez for a few years, but I like him more than the Washington Commanders did. They didn't even play him last year. So what's going to change this? So I don't see why getting rid of Brian Robinson Jr. has anything to do with Chris Rodriguez, who wasn't even involved last season. And what we're discovering and discussing with Bill is the efficiency that he showed in 2023 in college. I can't help that the NCAA screwed him over in 2024 and he dropped to the 7th round of drafts. This is a player that in 2023, amongst all FBS running backs, at least 100 carries, was 19th in yards after contact per attempt, 12th in elusive rating, and he resides in an offense that last year, if you look at the rushing attempts inside the 10-yard line, they were first in the NFL. Even if you take out Jaden Daniels' piece of that pie, they would rank 5th best. So as an RB3, this is the type of upside that Bill brings to us. And I'll just rest my case to the court.
It's an early rest for Derek Brown here in this argument. Now, look, nobody's saying that Jacory Croskey-Merritt isn't an interesting prospect. I think what we're trying to say here potentially, in the case that is being made here, that our jury, our watchers here to the program are going to ultimately decide, is whether or not we should be aggressive with him. Austin Eckler is the veteran guy there. Rodriguez, we've seen work out there in the past. Pat, your ranking here is RB37, which is a little closer to the consensus. I'll get that consensus going up here in a second, because I think that's what we're looking at, is how much of a committee is there and how much of an opportunity is there for Merritt to break away from this committee and really be a fantasy stud, because we've seen this sometimes where backfields like this, nobody ends up winning because different weeks, it's different game plans, different scenarios. And right now he is RB37, which is exactly where you have him in the consensus and your rankings, Fitzy. So why is Derek Brown being too aggressive here with, let's call him JCM? Can we do that? Because everyone's going to ask us about JCM, and I'm not going to know week one who they're talking about.
Bill? Yeah, I can't tell you why he's ranking him so aggressively. I am ranking JCM as befitting a committee back. But Judge Joe, our friend Derek Brown, is quick to get caught up in fads. He was into Minecraft for a while, aromatherapies. Just a few years ago, he was almost walking into traffic because he was so busy playing Pokemon Go and staring at his phone as he was walking down the street. And now,
Slanderous.
And now Derek Brown is caught up in the latest fad, Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Look, Bill is certainly interesting by all accounts. He's had a very good training camp, although training camp, I will decline to call Allen Iverson as a witness to testify about the importance or lack thereof of practice. Jacory Croskey-Merritt is a 7th round draft pick. He had one good season in an FBS college program. And it appears that Croskey-Merritt is going to be part of a full-blown running back by committee in Washington, along with Austin Eckler and Chris Rodriguez. And by the way, we know that Eckler is going to play on passing downs and in the hurry-up offense. And Commanders head coach Dan Quinn has already told us that Chris Rodriguez is going to be used in short yardage situations, which presumably means at the goal line. So we have a 7th round pick who's going to be part of a 3-headed backfield and is not going to be getting many of the high-value touches, i.e. goal line carries and pass receptions. I don't see why we would rank him as a top 30 running back.
All right, let's put it to a vote here. Everybody, you're watching, you're listening right now on the YouTube channel. It's your opportunity to vote on the poll. Are we drafting Jacory Croskey-Merritt or are we not, based upon the ADP and where he's going? Debro makes the case for. Fitzy makes the case, it feels like kind of against. I'm going to be honest with you, Fitzy. That kind of feels like where it's going. And I feel like, Fitzy, this happens every year, right? There's always that one situation that kind of opens the door and we all kind of peek through it. And some of us, sometimes, you peek through with your fingers and the door just slams on your fingers. And you go, why did I do that? That was a stupid thing. This feels a little bit like that to me. But Derek Brown, again, when we're talking about maybe the health of Austin Eckler historically too, he is an older running back. He's got some mileage there on him. We know Chris Rodriguez is kind of limited in what he likes to do. But so define the path to me of what it looks like for the breakout Jacory Croskey-Merritt season.
Well, first of all, Your Honor, I would like to remind this court that while we're discussing draft capital and draft stock and stuff, we're shading Bill, JCM, because he was drafted in the 7th round, and yet we're touting a player that has never been used in a backfield who was a former 6th round pick and a former UDFA. Okay, so it feels like we're kind of splitting hairs in our own favor here. But also with that, the path is easy. He has the goal line role. He takes all the early down stuff. The Commanders are still one of the best offenses in the NFL, and he scores 8 to 10 touchdowns. And he's a low-end RB2 or a high-end RB3, and it pays off exactly where you're drafting him at.
All right, here's a question from Axel Gonzalez. What a great name, too. At number 28, it's tough. But past 32, I'm down. Mason or Bill? I want Jordan Mason, Fitzy. How about you?
Mason also. Mason and Charbonnet are the guys who stand out as like kind of number 2 running back, so I would much rather have than Croskey-Merritt.
And Debro, see, at your aggressiveness, and I'm going to call it that, aggressiveness at 28.
Aggressiveness.
This is where I struggle because the guys around that are Caleb Johnson, who I like a lot, Jordan Mason, I like Travis Etienne, all going ahead of Jacory Croskey-Merritt. Whereas Merritt's going closer to Braylon Allen, Scadaboo, kind of guys that are in this, well, let's wait and see how this backfield unfolds over the course of a season. To me, he belongs more in that pile than in the Caleb Johnson conversation. Would you agree or disagree with that?
I mean, I agree with that, but to the point of Caleb Johnson and Jordan Mason, I have both of them ranked ahead of Bill. So I agree with you, and I disagree with ADP for the other names that are around that.
Well, it looks like the jury has handed me a piece of paper with their decision here. And I got to say, this one is surprising to me. I did not think we would see this. It's very close. Razor thin, just 54% of the folks watching here today are in favor. That's right, in favor of drafting Jacory Croskey-Merritt. This court does not approve that decision. Pat Fitzmaurice, I'm where you are, but we are the people's show after all. Debro gets a win, a rare one. Case dismissed.
Season of Bill, undefeated.
Yeah, Bill just going for it, but I think we're living in prisoner of the moment just a tad. That's what I think. And speaking of prisoner, my bald head is a prisoner to this wig. I got to tell you, it is sliding everywhere. It's uncomfortable. It's starting to get wider. It was much tighter here when we started in July, and now it's almost September, and the wig my curls have basically, maybe it's the humidity. I don't know. But
Did you see Dev's comment that you look like Santa?
Yeah, I don't get that. I get Santa every week, and I don't understand that at all. Like, I'm wearing a judge's robe.
Well, it's not the good Santa. It's the creepy mall Santa.
It's not the creepy mall Santa. I've got no white beard. Like, what kind of Santa Claus did you grow up with?
There's definitely some white in that beard.
So when you're not wearing it, Judge Joey, are you just like throwing it in a corner? Do you have one of those nice mannequin heads? You have to have a mannequin head to put the wig on.
You know what? You're right. I should have put it on a helmet or a mannequin head. I do just kind of fold it and put it off in the corner, and that's probably what happened. The curls are getting pressed, I think, and coming undone a little bit.
It's not going to keep its shape in the summer humidity without a nice mannequin head to rest on.
I know.
It's really
All
sad.
right, let's see if we can keep the shape for this next debate here. A wide receiver that certainly has some, I think, fantasy appeal, but just how much, that is the question. So let's bring to the stand here for a review the tape of Khalil Shakir of the Buffalo Bills. Wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, Khalil Shakir had a nice season last year. I think a guy that a lot of us fantasy nerds thought could be a contributor to that Buffalo Bills offense and to fantasy teams alike, and he was. He was solid. I don't know if you want to call him a spectacular. I don't think that's where we want to call him necessarily. If you look back on the 2024 season, he finished as wide receiver 38. Okay, wide receiver 3-ish. So more of a flex play kind of guy. 76 receptions on 100 targets, 821 yards, 4 TDs. Looking ahead, the projections have him for 72 receptions, less receptions, but the yardage total right there at the same, and 5 touchdowns. So the projections say cut and paste for this one. Pat Fitzmaurice has him right now currently at wide receiver 47. Debro has him where he finished last year at wide receiver 37. So Debro, again, you're the prosecutor today. You're going to be the aggressor. So let's get aggressive here and talk about Khalil Shakir. Why do you think he's going to repeat year over year when you have potentially Keon Coleman in year 2 growing? You have the addition of Josh Palmer, maybe the evolution of Dalton Kincaid, although with every passing year that seems a little less likely. So Khalil Shakir repeating his finish from last year basically is what you have. Explain to us why.
Well, first, I would like to remind the court and Mr. Fitzmaurice that this is a Khalil Shakir argument, not a Keon Coleman argument. So, with Khalil Shakir, I still think that he is the best wide receiver in that room. He proved it last year, especially down the back half of the season, weeks 7 through 17. Shakir earned, and we saw his role grow with the rapport with Josh Allen. He had a 23% target share, still on a per route basis. He was fantastic. 2.15 yards per route run, almost a 28% first read share. So I know that some people might be worried about the ankle, and I get that in rankings and projections. But if he starts off the year for week 1 healthy or somewhere close to 100%, he's still going to be the number 1 option in this Bills passing attack over Keon Coleman, who might lose his role to Joshua Palmer. And again, this is not a Keon Coleman discussion.
Okay, not a Keon Cole. We've had a Keon Coleman discussion. I think we've already had that discussion, and it was weighed and measured, and I think found a little wanting. All right, so Pat
Very
Fitzmaurice,
nice.
let's talk about this because we have him currently, for when I say we, I mean the royal we, in the expert consensus ranking. He is wide receiver 44. So basically, there's two ways to look at this. Either you and the expert consensus think that everybody else in the NFL is going to surpass Khalil Shakir, or you think there's regression potentially in what he did last season based on this ranking, because you do have him moving spots, because going from wide receiver 38 to where you have him at 47, the consensus has him at 48, basically tells you, he is kind of a stash wide receiver, bench depth guy, not somebody you're trying to roll out there every week. So give me your take on Shakir in this ranking specifically. Why the backslide in 2025?
Well, anyone who's ever played fantasy football knows that injuries are going to find you. I mean, here we sit in late August, all content about the teams that we've just drafted or excited about the teams we're about to draft. A month from now, we're going to be like, oh, all these injuries are just destroying me. This is terrible. So drafting injured players without getting a substantial injury discount is never good policy. And Khalil Shakir is currently dealing with a high ankle sprain. And we know that is a nasty injury that normally keeps players out 4 to 6 weeks. And often we see players come back from high ankle sprains far less than 100%. And unfortunately, we are not getting a substantial injury discount. Shakir was ranked as a wide receiver 4 throughout the offseason. He's still a wide receiver 4. His FantasyPros real-time ADP is wide receiver 45, 113th overall. That's drafts that are going down right now. That's the 10th round. The 10th round is too early to take an injured player from an ensemble cast of receivers. And the Bills' mantra with their skill players is everyone eats. And that's very true of their receivers because they play like 5 or 6 of them. And the Bills are going to give snaps to a lot of different receivers. Josh Allen spreads it around. Oh, and by the way, Khalil Shakir has 7 touchdowns over 3 NFL seasons and 46 NFL games.
As an Italian, I'm conflicted because I like when everybody eats, A, and B, I do enjoy ensemble shows. So those are 2 things that I actually really like. But in my fantasy world, I do like guys who just kind of stand out, more the targets. And this is why the Buffalo Bills are kind of tricky. And this is why I keep landing on James Cook as my favorite Buffalo Bill, because outside of the cost of Josh Allen, I look at James Cook being kind of undervalued, and I don't see his role as the efficient touchdown scorer changing. But the late ADP of Joshua Palmer, I think, is a little bit more intriguing to me. I think when you're looking at these guys, it is up for debate there. Keon Coleman going at 51, so he's even cheaper than Khalil Shakir, and Shakir over her. Just putting that out there. And then Palmer is all the way down at 68. So let's let the people decide here. Are we drafting Khalil Shakir or are we not? It's up to all of you. The Fantasy Pros want to know as we let this debate rage on here. And that is the difficult thing here, D-Bro, because ever since Stephon Diggs left town, in a lot of ways, you saw the evolution of Josh Allen, who became more like Drew Brees in the sense, and you can appreciate this as a Saints fan once upon a time, that, he spread the ball around every week. It was somebody else. He just found the open guy, and that's what made Drew Brees such a successful and special quarterback, right? He knew how to just play the position and do what needed to be done. But from a fantasy perspective, frustrating sometimes. There's no doubt when you're trying to figure out, like, is it Marquez Colston? Is it Devery Henderson? Who is it this week, right? It feels like the Bills are a new version of that in a lot of ways. Do you find that kind of difficult when you look at Shakir or, frankly, any of these Buffalo Bills wide receivers?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's going to be a maddening season. But I think with Shakir, he seems like the best bet to get the volume. And to Pat's point earlier about the red zone and the touchdowns and stuff, over his final 10 games, he did have 8 red zone targets. Now, he didn't convert those all into touchdowns, but the volume was there inside of the 20.
By the way, Mr. Wumbo calls me Timu Hamilton, which I find offensive. So I am going to throw you out of court. I want you out. Mr. Wumbo, get out of my stream.
It's really
Timu
good.
Hamilton. How dare you, sir? I do love Hamilton, though. I'll be seeing it for a 3rd time on my birthday this year with the original Leslie Odom. Very excited about that.
That's
coming
glorious.
back for a few weeks. So I'm looking forward to that. Timu Hamilton. I actually did a full Hamilton rap on the baseball show this year. It was pretty exciting. I don't have the It's August. I don't have the stamina for that today. Fitzy, well, what you've got the stamina for. But again, when we're talking about breakouts potentially on this Buffalo Bills offense, if you had to pin your hopes and dreams and you kind of made everybody a little, sad, almost looking at the way this ball gets distributed here, who is the best fantasy return on investment in the Buffalo offense besides Josh Allen, obviously?
Yeah. First of all, producer Sal, could you possibly highlight Peter Coomer's comment? Scroll up a little in the live chat. Like, I found that very, yes, perfectly
Summarized.
Very nice.
When everyone
very
eats,
nice. Well done, Peter.
We're all still hungry. Peter.
Well done. Well done.
So perfectly
I think that's
summarized.
From Hamilton somewhere.
Yeah, that's glorious.
So, discounting James Cook and even Cook might be a little overvalued because they do like to play 3 running backs, and Ty Johnson actually led all Bills. He led all NFL running backs in air yards last year, which is crazy. I think Keon Coleman is the guy to get, and his efficiency numbers were fantastic as far as yards per catch, yards per target, yards per route run. And this is a guy who was just starting to roll when he hurt his wrist. He had, I think, 4 catches for 105 yards, 5 for 70 and a touchdown. And then the next game got hurt and missed a month, and then was kind of slow to get reacclimated to the offense on his return. So I want to see a full season from him. Still a really young player, but like a terrific sort of contested catch, win at the catch point guy, like could be another Mike Evans or George Pickens type. So I'm excited about Keon.
It's still Cook for me, although Josh Palmer late, I think, is a good return on investment kind of dart throw. How about you, D-Bro? Best return on investment in the Buffalo offense, not named Josh Allen.
Palmer. It's easy Palmer for me.
Okay.
And when you look at the numbers, both separation metrics, route win rate metrics, I would definitely lower on Keon than consensus. And I think Palmer is going to take his role in this offense. Looking at what Palmer did, he was top 5 in both route win rate and separation versus man coverage. And that's the role in man coverage, beating that Palmer's going to fill that role that Keon was unable to fill last year, because Buffalo has faced a top 3 man coverage rate over the last 3 seasons.
That's a tough thing to say if you have a speech impediment, by the way. Route win rate. Yeah, route win rate. Oh, very Elmo fun of you. For you.
Exactly.
You almost.
That's why I say it slowly so I don't get
tongue-tied. Very close. You almost fell in.
Almost.
But you pulled yourself out at the last second here. All right, let's pull out the results here of Khalil
Wow.
Shakir, and it is overwhelming. 77% of you have voted against Khalil Shakir. Get out of my courtroom. Get out of here. You're going to fantasy jail, Khalil. Look, Khalil, nothing against you, man. I think you're a nice little wide receiver. I think you're a bye-week filler. But other than that, I can't get on board. Also, Hard Knocks is painfully boring. If I have to watch one more guy eat ice cream or ride a horse, like what? Buffalo has got like the most boring, like a bunch of nice guys. But holy crap, they are a boring group. I mean, what was back in the day of Hard Knocks where people were getting arrested for 8 balls of cocaine and a whole, hotel room full of hookers? I miss those days of Hard Knocks. That was good television. Now everyone's just out there. Oh, look at my basket weaving collection that I've got. I mean, what are we doing here? Gosh, so boring nowadays. Anyway, one thing that's never boring here, of course, obviously, is Fantasy Pros YouTube channel. And we love when everybody hangs out with us. And of course, we want you to also use the tools here at Fantasy Pros, including the Draft Assistant, which makes it easier for you to crush all of your competition. And that's what we're here for at the end of the day. So if you're looking to do just that, make sure you sync your leagues for free. Go wherever you get your apps, download the Fantasy Pros app, sync your leagues, bada boom, bada bing, just like that. Syncs to everything, Yahoo, ESPN, Sleeper, all that stuff, CBS. It'll give you live suggestions on the picks. It'll give you insights. It'll give you cheat sheet options. It'll give you so many bells and whistles. If you're drafting 10 and the 2 teams behind you already have tight ends, it'll send you an alert, hey, don't draft a tight end right now. Wait around when it comes back to you because the 2 teams after you already have that. It's the kind of insights you need when you're on the clock and you have to make the big decisions. Let us help you. Put us in the draft with you, the Fantasy Pros, and you can only do that with the Draft Assistant, one of the many incredible tools here at Fantasy Pros. So go download that today. All right, let's get to our next one here, and this one I'm excited about because this is a player Joey P has on a lot of his teams. It's Courtland Sutton, well, I think one of the most underappreciated, disrespected guys out there, and I don't get why. He's currently the ECR 21 wide receiver. Last year, He finished as wide receiver 13, had 1,081 yards, 8 touchdowns. And let's not forget, it was a slow start to the year for Bo Nix, too. He struggled in September. In fact, there weren't a whole lot of catches for him in the first 4 weeks here for Courtland Sutton because of that. Only just 15 catches over the first 4 weeks. But then things started to pop for him and the touchdowns started to come. And I just feel like he is clearly his Nico Collins, right? Like that's Bo Nix's Nico Collins is Courtland Sutton. I want to be aggressive on him in draft season. I think that people are sleeping on him. And if you are someone who takes Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs or one of those guys early on, you have to make up ground at the wide receiver position because you went early RB or you stack the RBs. Courtland Sutton's sitting there. D-Bro, you have him at wide receiver 18. That is respectable at the very least because right now he is being, again, at the wide receiver 22, I think disrespected. Pat Fitzmaurice, you've got him as wide receiver 28. You're not feeling it at all. D-Bro, all right, don't blow this one here. All right, it's tied 1-1. Defend my man, Courtland Sutton here. Why should people be drafting him this year with authority?
First, I do want to mention to the court my own vulnerability and my own misgivings that earlier this offseason. I did put this out on social media that I apologize to everybody out there that's listening, that I was not high enough on Courtland Sutton to begin the offseason. But I've seen the error in my ways, Judge. I've seen the error. And so are other people. In real-time ADP, Courtland Sutton is the wide receiver 23 in real-time ADP. He's the 12th highest gaining wide receiver over the last week. And I think I don't want to be prisoner of the moment here, your Judge, but I will say the preseason did move me a little bit to see a 50% target share in the final week of the preseason, which Mr. Fitzmaurice, I think, might just be a Bronco hater. He doesn't want any of Evan Ingram. He doesn't want any of Courtland Sutton. He has Courtland Sutton as a wide receiver 3, although last year after Bo Nix's breakout, wide receiver 20 in fantasy points per game. In that stretch, Courtland Sutton, 17th in yards per route run, 22nd in receiving yards per game, 19th in first read share. And oh, look at that. Even if we zoom out over the totality of the season, wide receiver 9 in expected fantasy points per game. So a player that, with the role that he has, and if Bo Nix takes yet another step in his game, we could get wide receiver 1 production in 2025. But you get to draft him as a wide receiver 2 this year. So everybody enjoy. Except maybe Pat Fitzmaurice.
We nearly got wide receiver 1 productivity from him last year. Wide receiver 13. What more does this man have to do with a rookie quarterback? And real-time ADP, let me tell you, that's a huge help. I've been using it all weekend in the drafts because it's one thing to get the consensus. That's nice to have. But to see the trends when you're talking about guys like Croskey-Merritt or guys like Woody Marks, like all these guys that are starting to really change the dynamic of the drafts, Ollie Gordon, for instance, right? To see where they're being drafted, it lets you know like where you're going to have to start to dip your toes into the pool, into that water, to get those players if they are targets of yours, because it changes dramatically here as we get to the end of draft season. I like that real-time ADP kind of keeps me on the ball there with all that stuff. It is by far my favorite new thing that we've got here over at Fantasy Pros. Now, Pat Fitzmaurice, I think the argument you are going to make, and I don't want to put arguments in your mouth, but you're going to say, well, RJ Harvey's there and Evan Ingram's there and maybe some other help of some other guys in Denver. Is that the argument for the slander? And that's right, I'm calling it slander at this point when it comes to your ADP of 1 Courtland Sutton.
That is at the very bottom of the list of arguments, Joe, and I can exclude that entirely. First of all, I want to address the accusation that I'm a Bronco hater. That is not true. Even though the only Super Bowl I've ever attended was the only Super Bowl my Green Bay Packers have ever lost, and it was to the Denver Broncos. So I do have reason to hate them, but really all the Broncos fans I met that day were lovely people, and I really can't hold any grudges. So, but Your Honor, I thought we had established precedent in the case of the people versus Courtland Sutton. I argued that case against Derek Brown and Andrew Erickson in, I can't remember if it was 2021 or 2022.
2022, I think.
Yeah, those 2 touchdown seasons for Courtland Sutton have a way of all blending together, D-Bro. So,
well,
you know,
hold on. Okay. wait. Order in the court here. Because we're talking about years where Nathaniel Hackett was the coach. I mean, it's a very different scenario here. Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, that was one of the most ill-prepared, underwhelming, frankly, unprofessional situations you could possibly ask for in the NFL. I don't want to tie Courtland Sutton to that. I think that is unfair, personally, and I'm going to, on behalf of Courtland Sutton, object and sustain my own objection, and I can do that because I have a gavel. And
I would say I'm just impressed. That was a very savage move. And
stop kissing ass of the judge.
I have to tip my cap.
Stop kissing. Just because you called me your honor earlier, just watch it.
Well done.
Well done.
Your Honor, Courtland Sutton has never finished better than wide receiver 26 in PPR fantasy points per game. And we can talk about the higher overall scores, survivor bias for a receiver who played 17 games and, was able to pile up points, but not necessarily do it in an impressive week over week basis during the course of the season. He's being drafted kind of at his historical ceiling. The Broncos have a really good defense and should be able to run the ball effectively with J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. So Denver might not throw at a very high rate. And when they do throw, well, Bo Nix likes checking down to his running backs, and the running backs in Sean Payton's offense always get a lot of targets. So, and that's where I do talk about some of the other weapons. Some people are excited about tight end Evan Engram playing that valuable joker role in Payton's offense. Marvin Mims came on strong late last year. Troy Franklin looks like he might be ready to take a step forward. And, rookie Pat Bryant could be a factor despite his 5'2" speed.
All right. So there you have it. The arguments have been laid out. And now it's up to you, the people, to vote. So the jury will debate here. Are we or are we not drafting Courtland Sutton this season? The boys have made their arguments, and we'll see if you feel like listening. In the meantime, don't forget, the fun is always going on our YouTube channel, but also on the Twitch. We've had mock drafts there. We've had Q&As there. We've had best ball streams. We're going to have Madden this week, Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be a good time. So join us on our Twitch, twitch.tv/FantasyPros. That's the place to be 5 days a week to hang out with us. It's a fun place. And if you're looking to get questions answered, we know the YouTube channel is enormous. Sometimes that's tough. Twitch is another great avenue. So when you see those streams, pop over there. All right, let's talk about this because there's some interesting questions here. One of which was, let me see if I can find it real quick here, which would you take Sutton over Ricky Pearsall? I don't care. Mm-hmm. Pat, what's your answer to this one?
Yeah, I like Sutton over Pearsall.
Okay, yeah, I would agree with that. Debro as well. Okay, so 3 for 3. And we all like Pearsall, so that is an interesting one as well. And this is the thing, and I think I was kind of leading the charge on the Courtland Sutton stuff early on because I just didn't see a scenario where this didn't feel like a copy-paste season for Courtland Sutton. I think when a young quarterback develops a rapport with a wide receiver, they become their safety blanket. They become the guy. I'm confident in the red zone. I'm going to find Courtland. I'm confident that that's my guy. I have the most reps with him. Evan Ingram's new. RJ Harvey's new. These things might develop. Yes, Marvin Mims at the end of the season had some really fun big touchdown plays, but that's not necessarily something, and Pat Fitzmaurice was the person that taught me this, that you can bank on year over year. So Courtland Sutton, I think, is the bankable guy here on a team that I think has a real shot to win this division. So I'm fascinated to see what the people are going to say. Do you have a prediction here on what the audience is going to vote, Pat Fitzmaurice? You have a number in any direction? You want to go ahead and take a guess?
Just as I knew I was probably going to lose the Jacory Croskey-Merritt case, I think people do like Sutton. I think it's going to be about 59% pro Sutton.
You know, it's funny. I'm with you on the Croskey-Merritt. I was actually surprised you lost that one. All right, how about you, D-Bro? Where are you at your prediction here? Pro, anti, Sutton? Give me a number.
I think the Sutton's team is kind of real right now. I think it's going to be like a little bit more of not a slam dunk, but 65, 67% pro Sutton.
Well, gentlemen, this one is a slam dunk. It's not even a slam dunk. It's like a Shaquille O'Neal, like mid-90s Orlando Magic, where he brings the entire just rim down with him and the glass crashes everywhere. 82% in favor. Wow. Boom, boom, boom of drafting Courtland Sutton. That's right, people. It's a good investment, and I'll tell you why. Woo. Here's how you win fantasy leagues. By drafting wide receiver 3s that produce like 2s, 2s that produce like 1s, and sometimes maybe even get some 4s that produces like 2s or 3s. When you find wide receivers that jump a tier, that is the secret sauce to winning fantasy leagues. And Courtland Sutton, at 29 years old, after what he's proven in his career, what he proved last year with Bo Nix, I think can jump that tier. I think at the base you're getting him at wide receiver 22 or somewhere around there, I don't think he finishes there. I think he finishes somewhere in the top 15, and that, my friends, is a win. He could even push for number 12 overall. That's not impossible with a better start to the season and a very good Denver Broncos team. So, Courtland Sutton, we be drafting him this season, baby, and I like this. I like this audience today. Feeling good. It's a big crowd. We love you having you here at Fantasy Pros. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Our next debate here, another good one, another solid debate here. This time, we're switching gears. It's not a running back. It's not a wide receiver. It's a quarterback. And it's a quarterback that you can get pretty late. And in single quarterback leagues, a guy that's finished in the top 5 before, it's Dak Prescott. Now, when it comes to Dak Prescott, you got to wade through a lot of the crap. You got to wade through a lot of the cowboy stuff, the hate of Dak Prescott, which is real, the injury history of Dak Prescott, which is also real. And that's the thing that's really prevented him. It's the consistency of being on the field. When he was on the field in 2023, he was QB3. When he was on the field in 2021, he was QB7. 2019, QB2. Well, other years, QB 33. He only played 5 games in 2020. In QB world of 12, he was, QB 18 in 2022, just 12 games. And last year, just 8 games, obviously finishing at QB 31. Now, in 2025, an interesting set of circumstances. They bring in George Pickens to play on the other side of CeeDee Lamb. The run game is not exactly svelte. It's not in great shape. It's not robust necessarily. And I think the defense, although it has some star power, is a little questionable. I could see the Cowboys getting in a lot of shootouts this year because their inability to control the clock, even if they have a lead, because that run game is suspect. That's a good thing for Dak Prescott. It's a good thing to have George Pickens. This comes down to health. But let's talk about the rankings. Let's talk about the ECR and see if we can get a gauge here where everybody is, because the ECR right now is living with Dak Prescott in a different place. Dak is QB 10 in ECR, QB 11 in ADP. Debro has him as QB 8, even more aggressive. Pat Fitzmaurice, though, Pat says he ain't a QB 1. He's got him a QB 15, which is really interesting. I can't wait to hear this. So, for all the haters out there, for all the Cowboy fans out there, which might actually be the same thing nowadays, Debro, let's talk about Dak Prescott. Why should people be going after him as aggressively as the 8th quarterback off the board in your rankings?
Judge, Fantasy Court, pro Dak Prescott drafters, please lend me your ears right now, because I need them. I need everybody to hear me right now. And the real-time ADP agrees with me. Right now, Dak Prescott over the last week has risen the 5th most amongst all quarterbacks, almost a half a round. Dak Prescott's rise and the talent is real. This year, he could be the NFC counterpoint to Joe Burrow in a high-flying passing offense teamed with a terrible defense, and it's all going to lead to wonderful, wonderful fantasy points. We are one season removed, people, from Dak Prescott being the QB4 in fantasy points per game, being top 10 in yards per attempt, CPOE, and highly accurate throw rate. And as the judge outlined here, do we believe in this run game? Is this the run game that you want to fill with volume? No! It all relies upon the passing game and Dak Prescott in 2025. The Dallas Cowboys will go as far as Dak Prescott can carry them, and so will fantasy GMs.
Now, I've been accused in the chat of not being impartial, and that's fair. I'm not above a bribe. That's perfectly fine. Pat Fitzmaurice, I will say this. I don't want to put my fingers on the scale, tip it one way or another, but I will say the injury history of Dak is real, and I think some of the concerns there are legitimate. I guess the question is, in single quarterback leagues where replacement value is very easy, there's not a lot of guys being drafted at 10, 11, 12 that have the upside for a finish of 3, 4, 5. And I think that's the appeal of Dak, but he might also be the kind of quarterback that if you do draft him late, you might want to get a pairing. You might want to put another second quarterback on that roster because of the injury history that he's had, where he's missed. It's 3 seasons now where he's missed significant time. And that clogs up your roster with another QB that can only use A on a bye week or B in case of emergency to break open glass. And that prohibits you potentially from keeping another running back or some more wide receiver depth on that roster. So from a roster standpoint, let's talk about the construction of the Dak Prescott team and why you might not think it's the best case scenario, because clearly as QB15, you have concerns.
Yeah, that's a great point, Your Honor. You probably would want to pair Dak Prescott with another quarterback when, maybe if you take a different quarterback, you don't have to. And that's sort of it. I don't really have any big beef with Dak Prescott. It's more just sort of the landscape of the quarterback position, which is deep this year. It is really deep. And I have Dak ranked as a high-end quarterback too, and would be content to have him as my top quarterback in any league with 12 or more teams. But ranking Dak Prescott as a top 10 fantasy quarterback, I just can't go there. He doesn't run. And as a result, Dak would have to go absolutely bonkers with his passing numbers to turn in a top 10 season. It's possible he does, but Dak has played 12 or fewer games in 3 of the last 5 years, and he's 32 years old now. So he would need to stay healthy all season and go nuclear. I'd just rather bet on guys who add some rushing value. Drake May, Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Brock Purdy. I've got all those guys ranked ahead of Dak Prescott.
Kyler Murray, would he be one of those guys?
Reluctantly, yes. I mean, he certainly runs and provides the goodies as far as rushing yardage, but I just don't think he's a very good quarterback.
Kyler Murray has one top 5 QB finish in his career. In 2020, he was QB 2. Other than that, his first year was QB 7, then 10, 19, 26, and then 10 again. So it's clear from a passing perspective that the upside lies with Dak Prescott. But I understand the rushing QBs give you that floor every single week and the upside for the rushing touchdowns. This one is really interesting because I think this is kind of like, especially going into draft season, this was free. He was free, Dak Prescott. He's not quite free anymore. He's gone from like QB 13, 14 to now QB 10, sometimes even QB 9 or 8. I think in the sharper leagues, you're seeing people be a little bit more aggressive on Dak. So I want to put it to you, the people. Let us know, are you drafting Dak Prescott this year or are you not? The jury is now open for voting. Now, here's an interesting one that somebody brought up. Jawan had one here. I drafted Dak and May. Let's say you can only have one of those QBs. D-Bro, who would you want to have in a single QB league? Drake May or Dak Prescott?
This is a wonderful question for this panel. I know that I sit with Dak, and I know Fitzy is going to sit with May, but it's Dak for me.
Oh yeah, it's
Why
May.
Is it May for you, Fitzy?
There's just so much untapped rushing upside, and we didn't get the full-on rushing onslaught from Drake May last year. He had one design run. He's going to have more of those, and if you just look at his college numbers as far as rushing, he was a really aggressive runner. And scored a lot of rushing touchdowns, and we didn't really see many of those last year. 2 last year, 16 and 26 college starts. He has got like 800 or 900 yard, 6 or 7 touchdown run potential. So that's why he sails past Dak, as far as I'm concerned. And I love, I do love Dak. I would much rather have Dak quarterbacking my NFL team than Justin Fields or Kyler Murray. But in fantasy, it's different because the rushing yardage really does move the needle. And that's why I'd rather have Fields or Murray for fantasy. But I mean, Dak is far superior as a quarterback to those guys.
I like what Juwan did here by getting both of them. I think this is exactly right. If Drake May should explode onto the scene this year and take a massive step forward, well, that's a huge win in fantasy. And then you could start him over Dak in those weeks where you just don't like the matchup, or if Dak suffers an injury, misses any time. I think this is the perfect kind of thing. You take the J.J. McCarthy, you take the Drake May along with Dak. You give yourself one of those young QBs with stunning upside, and if it doesn't work out and Dak's just great, you can just cut those guys at some point, and Dak's flying around. A little disappointed. I did have Dak last year in an important league. The first time my daughter played fantasy football, we had a league together. It was a Taylor Swift themed name. It was Dak to December, but Dak got hurt, so it was a little bit of a bummer there. But hopefully a little healthier this year, but I like Jawan's pairing there. And of course, we're looking to you to make this vote here. So this one's a little closer than the last one, but then again, anything was, because last one was it might be the most one-sided one we've had in all the months of doing this. The results are in, and Dak Prescott, 60% of you say that you are drafting him. Dak is going on the roster. There you have it, everybody. That's the judgment. He is guilty of being just too tempting to pass up. Just too many potential passing yards. And again, I keep coming down to the football theory here, which is no run game, a defense that I think is opportunistic, but I don't know if their defense is going to hold a lot of point totals down. Like, I'm just not there yet. The Micah Parsons drama, the Diggs coming off an injury. Again, star power. Don't confuse star power on defense with a great defense necessarily. They're not the same thing always. It takes everybody working together and really good leadership at the defensive coordinator spot to have a defense that really knows what they're doing. And I think this Cowboys defense sometimes gets away with all the talent they have, but not necessarily the scheme. And I think that could put Dak in a situation for shootouts, and that is good for fantasy. So again, there you have it, everybody. That's another one of our incredible debates here. Back to one more debate, and we've got a special one for you at the tight end position. This time it is Mark Andrews, my favorite tight end that I like to go after, of course, because he kind of just floats around there a little bit too long, in my opinion. And if you're looking at a guy who was tight end 4 after week 7 in fantasy points, you're talking about a guy who led all tight ends after that period of time with 10 touchdowns. Slow start last year, but he was in a car wreck last year. And of course, we can't trust NFL teams to give us insights and actual news about what's going on with players. Why would they do that? And I think a lot of us, unfortunately, got into a tough spot. Mark Andrews was dropped. He was traded. He was persona non grata after the first 6 weeks of the season. And then week 7, it was like a totally different guy. Isaiah Likely's hurt. I look at the scenario where I just don't see the cons here when it comes to him. He's 29 years old, playing for a contract. But I can understand where people might think there's an evolution of this offense, too, that continues to change in Baltimore. Just for everyone's awareness, he was tight end 5 last year. He had 11 touchdowns, 673 yards, 55 receptions. And I know the argument will be, well, it's very touchdown-based. Okay, fine. I get it. But it's not the first time he's had double-digit touchdowns with this team. And he is the red zone guy. And I know we left a bad taste in everyone's mouth in Buffalo when he was walking backwards and dropped the ball in the snow. I think we can give Mark Andrews a pass on that. Let's take a look at where everybody else has him, though. Fitzy has him at tight end 10. Debro has him as tight end 4. Now, that's even more aggressive than moi. So I want to hear from Derek Brown about this one because he finished as tight end 5. He's being drafted currently as tight end 7 in the ECR and the ADP. So, Debro, kick it off here because you are pretty aggressively ahead of some of the expert consensus and the current ADP of Mark Andrews. Tell me why.
Because part of what you laid out there, I mean, this guy was once healthy and back into form. Weeks 10 through 18, all of his metrics bounced back to Mark Andrews type levels. He was the tight end 5 in fantasy points per game. He is the guy at the end of drafts, if you want to take a swing on top 3 production this year at the tight end position, getting into that realm, close or equaling this elite tier of tight ends. We've already seen Mark Andrews do this previously in his career. Now Isaiah Likely is hurt. When is he back on the field or effective or 100%? We don't know. You saw last year down the back half of the season, so weeks 10 through 18, again, tight end 5 in fantasy points per game. He earned an 18% target share, 2.3 yards per route run. All of his metrics bounced back to previous levels. This is the guy in this passing attack that if you want to get the touchdown equity in the offense, if it's not going to Henry, if they get into the red zone, it's going to Andrews, as well as the upside this year. If he's closer to not just what we saw during that stretch, a 66% route per dropback rate, if he's closer to 70, 75%, he could produce top 3 numbers this year. And yet, right now in real-time ADP, you get to draft him as tight end 7. So I want people aggressively ahead of the market for Andrews because he is the swing to take on possible elite upside in the later rounds.
Well, I think what's so interesting, too, is the overall ADP and the real-time ADP of him, too. It's still pretty suppressed. Now, the guy is being drafted.
It's dropping. It's actually, he's dropped in drafts of the last few weeks.
Yeah, and I struggle with that because I don't know what Sam Laporta is in this new offense. And I did see the emergence of Jameson Williams last year in Detroit. I like to think that TJ Hawkinson will be very useful with Minnesota, especially rookie QBs. They tend to, go look for that tight end safety blanket quite a bit. Travis Kelce, I think, clearly lost a step last year, but still a good volume guy. But again, another year older here. How many times are we going to go down this well? And then there's Mark Andrews just kind of sitting there before it drops off a cliff with, David Njoku, who, look, I know was good a couple years ago, but I don't want to bet on anything with the Browns. Like, that's just not a good ecosystem investment for me because Joe Flacco is probably not going to play the entire season. And then at some point they're going to look at the kids, and I don't know what David Njoku is going to be. I know what Mark Andrews is, Fitzy, and I think that is the argument for Mark Andrews, but what's the argument against him?
Well, you mentioned he's 29. Joey does turn 30 next week. So it's not so much age, though. It's that he's coming off a season that would have left a bad smell had it not been slathered in touchdown deodorant. He scored a career high 11 touchdowns last year. It was his first season with double-digit touchdowns since 2019. But do you know how many times Mark Andrews had 70 or more receiving yards in a game last season? Zero. Mark Andrews did not reach 70 yards even once last year. His single game high was 68 yards. Mark Andrews hasn't given us more than 80 yards in any game since the 2023 season. This guy just does not produce yardage anymore. And I do not want to bet on an old tight end having another lucky season with touchdowns, especially not when there's a younger and possibly better tight end on the Ravens roster, the guy who goes by the name Isaiah Likely. I would much rather draft a promising young tight end like Tucker Kraft or Tyler Warren than Mark Andrews and count on touchdown luck. And if I'm going to draft an old tight end, I'll just draft Travis Kelce, who has always been a much better fantasy performer than Mark Andrews.
Much older, though. I will say this, too. The Lamar Jackson rushing touchdowns, back in the day where he's putting up 7 every year. 2, 3, 5, and 4 the last 4 years. So he is not necessarily the guy that you're really worried about taking away touchdowns. I know Derrick Henry's that guy. But in a wide receiver core that's a little lackluster, I get it. He's not the PPR god. But in the half PPR leagues where touchdown matters a little bit more, I see the appeal of Andrews. I'm curious about what the appeal is to our jury. So we're going to put it to all of you to vote here on Mark Andrews. And Pat, you do bring up a really good point, which is, although the ADP, and I'm looking at the real-time ADP, he's the 70th player going off the board, 72nd right now in some other spots. He is going in that Ricky Pearsall, Emeka Egbuka vibe area, and I would take those guys over Mark Andrews. But then when you dig a little bit deeper, and you're talking about Tucker Kraft or talking about Warren, that's where I think, Warren at the 93rd, almost the 100th player off the board, that to me is an interesting swing for the upside, because if you look at last year, that's where Brock Bowers was, and I'm not saying he's Brock Bowers. I don't think anybody is, but there's certainly potential for Tyler Warren to be a really good return on that investment, and maybe in terms of the ADP overall allow you to get more wide receiver, more running back depth. Is that more of the, I guess, indictment we would say about Mark Andrews?
I mean, those guys can do incredible damage after the catch. Like Tucker Kraft averaged 9.3 yards after the catch per reception last year. And Tyler Warren, I mean, the guy wears, in college wore John Riggins' number because he loved the way Riggins played and just plays like a beast after the catch. Mark Andrews is a catch and fall down guy now. He just happened to catch it and fall down in the end zone a lot last year.
Yeah, but I like that about him, Fitzy. I like when he catches and falls down in the end zone, because in fantasy, you score a touchdown, you're a tight end one. Debro, you and I are old DFS souls back in the day. That's what we were chasing. We were chasing tutties at the tight end position, and Mark Andrews was the gift that just kept on giving and giving and giving. And I think the one thing that I would say in counter to what Fitzy's argument was, and I think he makes some really good ones, is the emergence of Derrick Henry makes stopping Mark Andrews on play action nearly impossible, because you have to stack that box. You cannot, in the goal line, not have all hands on deck. You're looking for Derrick Henry. You're looking for that, RPO exchange. You're looking for all these things that are possible between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, that I don't know if you've got time or bodies or inclination to even worry about Mark Andrews. And I think that was the secret sauce for all the touchdowns. And I don't know if that changes in 2025, Debro.
I don't know if it changes either. I mean, I think when you get to the red zone, it's going to be, you're giving the ball to Henry, you're going to Andrews, or maybe you're sprinkling in some DeAndre Hopkins, but he's not going to probably be a full-time player in this offense. So still going to be heavily involved. I mean, I still think for all the touchdowns he scored last year, it's not like he's been allergic to the end zone in previous seasons. So as many as, 11 is in one season, he has also hit 9 and 10 previously in his Baltimore career.
All right, so before we reveal the results, just a quick reminder, the draft kit is out there for you. So if winning your fantasy league means everything to you, and I know it does because you're watching this show right now, the FantasyPros draft kit gives you the knowledge to do it the right way. It's your one-stop shop for expert rankings, players to target or avoid, strategies for your draft at different positions. So don't walk, run right now to fantasypros.com/kit. Again, that's fantasypros.com/kit. Go premium today. You get a 3-day free trial. This is the perfect weekend to do it, folks. So schedule that appropriately. Sync all your leagues for free. Use the draft kit. Use all the tools. Don't be a tool. We want you to win all your leagues and embarrass all your friends and relatives. So we can help you do that. Again, fantasypros.com/kit. The draft kit has everything you need to dominate all of your leagues. All right, this is it. The hour of truth. It's closer. 62% say that they are not drafting Mark Andrews. A stunning turn of events here at the end.
Can't believe
Courtroom
this.
dramas are great to have. And Fitzy, I think we just had one here. This is an upset, I think. Fitzy, how does it feel to be the winning side of this argument against drafting Mark Andrews?
Yeah, pretty satisfying. Feel like the end of a few good men, Joe.
Yes. Well, if that's the case, then Derek Brown gets arrested here and court-martialed, and a lot of bad things happen there. But
people can't handle the truth. They can't handle the truth.
When it comes to Mark Andrews, I want you on that goal line. I need you on that goal line. People talk about touchdown regression. I talk about having touchdowns there where you catch them and you fall into that end zone and you get me 6 points. And every time you get me 6 points there to the touchdown, you're a tight end one. People want to talk about taking Brock Bowers as the 10th player overall. I want later touchdown productivity at tight end. But I'm not going to get it because the people say no. Not going to happen today, but I trust our audience. It's a good group over there. And again, if you're watching here on the YouTube channel, I know you are and you're listening, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Great job by the audience. Great interactions today. We had a lot of people watching live. I love to see that. We're going to be live on this channel almost every single day, and stay with us because Waiver Wire Show with the three of us is going to be back on Mondays. Everybody's favorite program. Three of us, the three amigos, are going to be back together on that one. We're going to be live on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays this year. The Joe and Derrickson show is going to be back on track, which we haven't had in a couple years, but it's back by popular demand because, well, we listen to all of you. So we're excited about that. And Draft Court has been a lot of fun. It has been a little bit of cosplay for me, a little bit of rash on my bald head. But overall, I think at the end of the day, we have served the people, and that's what we're here for. We're here for fantasy justice. So, Pat Fitzmaurice, I want to thank you for some excellent arguments you made today. Derek Brown, I want to thank you as well. Some outstanding arguments. Our producer, Sal, doing a great job as always. But most importantly, it's the jury of our peers, our friends here who watch and subscribe to the channel. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you drop your comments below, even on the way out, even if you're not watching live, because you can win the A.J. Brown Salute to Service autographed helmet from pristineauction.com. Go Birds! Right here. Only a couple days left to win this bad boy. So get in on this. Subscribe, drop your comments, like the stream. Right now, we want you to like the stream. You're watching here, click that little thumbs up. It's a very easy thing to do. And just like that, you can win. And don't forget to ring the bell till it goes ding on the way out for all the content here on Fantasy Pros. We're going to have a great season. I can feel it in my bones. I'm excited to share it with all of you and our terrific team here at FP. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Pat Fitzmaurice and Derek Brown, I'm Judge Joey. This court is adjourned. Woo, I'm taking this bad boy off. Oh, my God. Oh, I can breathe again. Oh, air to my bald head. Feels so good. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Don't worry. Fantasy Carrot Top will be back next year, people.
It's like I've been released from prison. That wig. That's how it feels.